Now I've gone ahead to create a new sheet and imputed some data here. So we want to look at how to do some basic calculations in Excel. So there are a lot of calculations that are possible, a lot of functions that are possible. If you come to the formula tab here, we see a whole lot of them here. And if you click on insert functions, you can see, let's change this to all functions. You can see a whole lot of them are here. There is no way we can cover every single function, but we'll try and cover some of the most recently used ones. Like we have the sum here. We'll look at the max. We'll have to look at mean and a few other ones. So you can go ahead, pause the video and just create this here. All I did was put all these details here and then put these figures in here. So you can just pause the video and then go through this and just create this so that you can follow along. Now this doesn't look totally okay because we can see there are some things that are cut out in our Excel, cut out some parts of the text here. So that's because it's longer than the particular width of that cell. So to do that, we can just always extend it, or if you double click it, it takes it to the last character, so the longest character in that cell, in that column. It expands every single column, fits the longest string range of characters that you have. So for this, let's do a little bit of some basic formatting here. I want to merge all these cells together. So from our own tab, we'll come here. I want everything here to just be, I don't want these break-ins in between them. So I just want one particular cell. So we have the merge and center. And while we did that, see, we have, if you can look here, we see that we have this. Let me make this bigger. So we have basic Excel here. And I can decide to change the font. I can make it blue. I can make it whatever. But before you even spend all your time trying to format that, you see in the styles tab, there's something here called cells, where you have different formatting styles for your headers. You can make them like this. You can put colors. You can make them big for the headers. You can make them like this. So let me just use this one. So we have it like that there. So just to correct this here, so we have everything okay. So here we have just random figures. These are some expenses that occurred in a particular place. January, February, March, and we have a total here, and then we have each month's total running here. So we want to run some basic calculations where we take the sum of every single month and then also the sum of across every single item category. So to do that, we're going to use, there are 3 ways for you to perform this in Excel. So I'm going to walk you through all the ways. So let us do the first way. Remember, in Excel, every formula starts with the equal to sign. So you use the equal to sign. Sorry about that. You use the equal to sign to start every formula. So once you want to start the formula, you press the equal to sign and then formula, you type your formula there. So to do a sum here, I will do this, and then we're going to use one of the formulas. Now, one awesome thing with Excel is that it does an auto suggestion for us. So the moment I start typing a sum, it tells me we have sum, sum if, sum products, and a whole lot of them, and it gives me what that formula does. If you go to the formula tab and you want to insert your function from there, let us say I want to insert my function from there. If I come here, I can find the formula, and if I click sum, you can see it tells me adds all the numbers in the range of cell. If you want to see some examples of how this works, you can click on this help on this function, and it's going to pop up some examples on how, showing you how this sum function is used. So let me show you that. Let's say we select the sum here and click OK. See that it has populated this here, and then it identified that, okay, we're trying to do our sum from this, adding all the numbers in this particular cell reference. You see here, we have this cell reference here. So it adds all numbers in a range of cells. So it has taken the reference from C5 to C13. And then it adds it all up, and then the formula results, it even gives us the results here, and the formula results in this, and we have this here. That's one way to go about it. You can also impute this manually, since you don't need to always go to the formula bar if you know the formulas you're working with. So you can just type the sum here and impute those references manually. So I want to do work from here. We have C5, so I have C5, and then up until C13, and then I close this, and if I press enter, you see I have 2,240. And before we go on, let us format this. Since we're working with currency, let us format everything here to be currencies. So to do that, in our home tab here, remember I should told you about the groupings that we have here for alignment, here for numbers. So we just highlight the range of cells that we want. To do that, you can hold your shift and just select the range, or you can just use your, you can just hold your shift and then select the range, shift down, and then you move left or move right to select the range of cells you want. So I've done that, and I want it to be formatted as currency. So I come here and I select the number format that I want, and I have currency there. So I do that, you can see that it has added the $sign to the currency. I can decide to put in a euro. Let's leave it at dollar. So here I have done the sum for this part. And let me show you the second way to do the sum. Do equals to sum, and then you select everything in that range. So you see that I've selected it. I did not need to, and I selected it, and then it did it for me. And then I have my sum here. That's another way to go about it. Another way is to come and use, if you look at the editing here, you see this auto sum that we have here. You could just click on it and then see it intuitively knows that, okay, you're trying to add all these numbers here, and then it puts in the digits for you here, and then you have it, the sum. Now, another way to go about it is, for example, using the autofill feature. For the autofill feature, you need to have created the first one. So let's say we haven't done this one yet. I've deleted this and I've done this, or let me say I've not done this. I deleted this and I have just this. So coming to the end of that cell, while you're on the cell, you can see that the cross is white and big. So if you come to the edge of the cell, you can see that it's now black and small when you're at the edge of the cell. So you hold that thing and you drag, click and you drag, and this is what we call the autofill feature. Now, what it does is that it's the same sum calculation that it did here. It will do that here for all the cells within this range, and the same thing for all the cells within this range. So now remember the autofill feature that I talked about. You can also use it while you're working from this part. So I want to get the total for every single column, for every single row category that we have there. So for trainings, can do the same equal to sum. Let me use the select and then highlight the 3 and press enter, and see I have 544. And then use the autofill feature. I can either click at the edge as I have it and drag, and then you see it fills up to this point for me. We need to open this cell up so that it can accommodate these values that we have here. We open it up and you see it accommodates this value. And then you see as I dragged it up here, every single sum that I had here was from the total of all these. And this is the total of all these and the total of all this. So as you can see here that we have been able to do some basic arithmetic operation like sum. Let us look at how to do a few others like the max and the minimum and a few other calculations. So let's look at maximum here. So let's say we want to see where do we spend the most in January? What category of items did we spend the most on? We can see, remember it starts with the equal to sign. So we can start the equal to sign and put the max. What does the max do? It returns the largest value in a set of values. So once we have clicked on max, and then we can just select this range here. Remember, don't select total, and then we close that, and then okay, and then we can see that the max value is 400. So for January, and then we can use the autofill feature to extend this here and here, and then we have 420 and we have 350 for our max value. And then in total, what category did we spend the most on? We spent the most in total was in computer expenses, even though here for 420 computer expenses in January, but in February, in March, it was office supply that took the most money. But in total, it was computer expenses that took the most money. Now let's do the minimum here. So let's do minimum, and let's see what we have here. We use the equal to min, and returns the smallest number in a set of values. So to do that, we just highlight the range of numbers that we want and close that, press enter, and we have 30, and we can use the autofill. You can either click and drag it or just double click the edge and then click and drag it here, and then see we have the autofill where we have the minimum amount spent in that particular month and then the minimum total amount spent. We can do the count. So let's see the counts here. More counts, have number of cells in the range. So to do that, we'll just also go this way and then close that. And of course, we have 9 cells in each range here. But as you can see, these ones have value. This is empty. So see that we have 8. We didn't spend any. There was no message. We didn't spend any in February. So compared to March and January. So one thing to note about the autofill feature is that it's quite intelligent. So for example, if I have 1, 2, 3 here, and then I decide to use the autofill feature, from here I can just come and drag. Okay, from here I have 1, 2, 3. What I do is you press the control, and if you look at that cross there, when you hold control, you see that there's another cross, a smaller cross above it, to the right, top right above it. Now if you click and then you drag, you see that I can now add more numbers. So let's add up to 14, and you see that I have autofilled up to 14. Now if I didn't want to do this, I could highlight this way, and then I can start dragging all the way. So there are 2 ways that I just did this. First of all, I've added 1, 2, and 3. So I've given it a sequence, meaning that I want just 1, 1, 1, increasing by 1. So I want to continue the sequence from here. Either from the last number, I press control and then I drag to the desired number I want, or I can select the range I have done and then just click on the head and drag, and then give me the range. Now this also works with text, something that is a known sequence already. So we have January, February. So let us now from here go. We have March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. As you can see, it did that for us. We didn't need to explicitly state that that's what we wanted. It used the autofill feature to do that. So what about when you want a sequence of numbers that are spaced by different, that are not spaced by 1? So let's say we have 1, we have 4, we have 7. So you see that difference between these 2 numbers is 3. Difference between these 2 numbers is 3. Difference between these 2 numbers is 3. So once I highlight this and then I drag, gives me 13, 16, 19, 22, and so on and so forth. Numbers spaced with each number in between them being 3, as I have defined in my first 3 columns, or my first 3 records. So that's one thing that you should take note of for the autofill feature in Excel. And in this particular thing we have done, remember I told you about the formatting. We can format this, give it some beauty if we want to, make it normal. You can make it to look like this if you want to, depending on your use case, but we're not going to go into that right now. So I just needed to let you know how to do some basic calculations using some common function that you will obviously be using a lot, like the sum. And then we talked about the max, mean. Now, any formula you're going to be doing is probably going to follow this sequence. We're going to also work with some complex formulas later on. And then I showed you how to do the autofill feature. So now let's try and do a few more calculations using some basic functions in Excel. So we have used the sum, we have used the max and min already. So let's try and I've gone ahead to create some information here. We have gross P, we have deduction 1, we have deduction 2. You can open that by double clicking. Total deduction, you can expand that, and then we have our net pay. So now I'll pause this video now, and I'm going to add in some random figures to this. Okay, so now we have figures that we are putting here. Let's go ahead and format everything here to currency. We have this. Okay, so we have figures here for our currency. So now I want to look at what is our total deduction. Our total deduction is simply deduction 1 and deduction 2. So for Moses, for example, let's make this employee. So for Mike, for example, the deductions will be this plus this. So to do that, we use a simple sum function, and then we do this, and then we select this also, and close that, and okay. And then this is what we have as our total deductions. To get deductions for the other ones, we just use the autofill feature. Double click this and it autofills for us. Now, we want to see what our net pay is. If you inspect this, while you click on anything that has the formula, you can be able to see the formula up there. So you see that this references D26 and E26. This references D27 and E27, and so forth. D30 and E30 for Moses. Now, the net pay is going to be our deduction of subtracting our gross pay from the total, our total deductions from our gross pay, sorry. So to do that, we're going to simply put this here, C26 minus the total deductions. So if you enter that, you have 3,420. That is the net pay of this person. So we use the autofill feature to calculate for every single person, and then we can see their net pay here. For this person, we have 3,420. For Mike, for Grace, we have that, which is this figure minus this. You can see the cell reference is there, C28 minus F28 for him. That's this. For this, we have C29 minus F29. This is F29. This is C29, and so on and so forth. So let's try and say we know their net pay. So let's figure out their annual pay now. So in a year, there are 12 months. Let's assume that they work for 12 months in a year. So to get that annual pay, of course, it's going to be this net pay times 12. So to do that, we can just quickly do this and then times 12. But now this is not the best way for you to present this formula, but let's just do it that way, and then I'll tell you why very soon. So this times 12, we can open this a little bit so that we can see what's happened there. And then we can see the annual pay for Mike is 41,000. Using the autofill feature, you can clear on this and we can see the annual pay for every single person. Let's see the pay per week. So in a month, this is the net pay for the month. So whatever this is going to give us is going to be this divided by 4. So to do that, we will come here and select this reference, which is the net pay, divide it using the slash sign, divided by 4. Now we don't want to use these numbers in our formula. We want to be able to reference cells, but for this case, let us use it. I'm going to show you why. Also, why we should use this 4, and also why we should not have used 12 in the annual pay. So you click enter, and then we see this is what they earn per week, Mike. And using the autofill feature, you have the pay per week for every single person. Henry seems to earn a lot of money. He earns 2,000 something. He's almost someone's net pay. Probably Henry is the manager or something. So now we have that pay per week. So now let me show you a better way to create this annual pay. So instead of referencing the net pay times 12, what if we now do not work 10, 12 months in a year? Why would the office now functions on an 11 months per year, and for 1 month someone doesn't work? So the pay period for a year is 11 months. So if we're doing 11 months, if you want to change it, that means you have to go to every single cell and change that 12 to 11. But now, let us create a cell reference, which is a better way to create this formula. So let's have something like annual pay period. So for that, we can have, or let me just make it pay period so that it doesn't get too long. So let's have pay period here, and then let's put our pay period to be equals to 12 as we have defined it. So here our pay period is 12, and so we can now change this formula to, instead of showing us this times 12, we'll just multiply this and then multiply by this, referencing this particular cell. So instead of doing that, and then we have OK, and then we can click and drag this. But then you see what happens here. When we reference the cell, you see that we're having this here. And then for this, is multiplying this cell by, what do we have here? N24. And this is what? N23 is multiplying by this, and this is black. So we want this to always reference this cell. There's something called the absolute reference and the relative reference, which I'm going to talk about. So for us to work around this, like I showed you, it's referencing different rows and columns here. So in this particular part, is referencing N24, which is this, but this cell here is referencing N25, which is this cell, and that's not what we want. So there are 3 ways that Excel references cells in our spreadsheets. We have what we call the absolute reference, the relative reference, and the mixed reference. Now, the way the absolute reference works is that it comes to a particular sheet, and then, a relative reference is this that we have here. So it's relative. So as we came to this cell, it went to the next cell relative to the fact that it is going to the next cell here. So it's moving to the next cell here. But we want an absolute reference. Now, an absolute reference occurs by putting a $sign in front of your row or your column. So if I put a $sign here and I put a $sign here and I press enter, see that I have an absolute reference. Now, what that is saying that regardless of the row I come into, the cell I come into, it should keep on referencing this cell. So if I use the autofill feature and I click here, you can see that we have if you look at the formulas here, you see, if you look here, you see that we are referencing another cell. Sorry. You see that we're referencing, look here, we have $sign N23. Still referencing the same thing here and the same thing here. Now, for a relative reference, you could, to do a mixed reference, a mixed reference is where you want to reference just one part. You want one part to be locked. So if I remove the dollar sign from here and I just put it in front of the column, that means I want this column to be locked. It will change rows, but it will not move to the next column. But if we reference, put the dollar sign in front of this here, just like this, we'll be able to change our columns, but it will lock down row 23. So you'll be able to not move out of row 23. It will just keep remaining in row 23, but moving different columns if we had different figures running down through here. So also, instead of putting this dollar signs manually, you can press the F5. Sorry, you can press the F4, and then you can change this between absolutes. This is an absolute reference, and then the mixed references that you have, just locking the, here we lock the row, here we lock the column, and then your normal relative reference. So change it back to absolute reference, and then make sure everything is okay here. So the same thing we can do for week here. So for weeks, we have 4 weeks, remember? So let's change this formula to reference this, and then remember, press your F4, make it an absolute reference, press enter, and then we shift down, autofill, and then we have everything there. Looking at it, we have that all there.